Hey there, it's Rachel Mullins, the host of Hashtag No Filter Fridays on Public House Media.
What's up, everybody? This is Christian Heimel, host of Press Row here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Press Row, where we talk about the biggest issues in sports with the analysts, experts, and reporters who cover them. No nonsense, hard-hitting interviews on the sports topics you're talking about. A new show comes out every single Thursday. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Press Row. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
History is happening in High Point as professional baseball has come to Furniture City. Don't miss any of the action from strikeouts,
3-2 cold strike 3 right at the knees,
to web gems,
stabbed by Alfonso, he spins, throws to first, and the pick by Bichette rounds out a beautiful play.
to home runs.
High fly ball, deep left field. This one is gone. Get up and get out. Tyler Ladendorf.
And of course, every Rockin' victory.
The pitch. Swing, strikeout. The Rockers win. The first win in Rockers history here at home.
Interviews, recaps, and insights from across the Atlantic League. It's all fresh off the Rockers.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Off the Rockers. I am one of your hosts, Kevin McMahon, a broadcaster for the High Point Rockers, one half of the High Point Rocker broadcast team. You can listen to Kendrick Fruits and I every single home game on Spreaker, on YouTube, and on Saturdays, on Sundays, locally in the Triad on my 48. Had to get a little plug ski in there. And then I'm joined by James Jackson, the media relations coordinator for the High Point Rockers. James, it's always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Nice little plug ski you had going there, Kevin.
You know, I got to do what I got to do. And we appreciate you listening to the podcast. You might see this on Facebook and give it a click. If you're not listening on, there's a ton of ways to listen. You can listen on Spreaker, but you can also find it where you find your podcasts, like on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and those places. And if you like getting your podcast that way, I like getting mine on the Apple Podcast app. Make sure you subscribe and maybe give us a little review if you like listening to us. We'd really appreciate that. So now that we got that stuff out of the way, your Rockers, James, are playing red-hot baseball right now. They have won 10 out of their last 12. We're recording this on Sunday right after the game against the York Revolution, where the Revolution won. But the High Point Rockers won the series 2-3. The Revolution came in the number one team in the Freedom Division, High Point in first place in the Liberty Division, and they take 2 out of 3 against a really good team.
This is a series that I'm looking forward to watching as the postseason draws closer.
You're looking forward to seeing it again.
Honestly, I came into this series with a lot of excitement, knowing how red hot York is and how red hot we are.
And a little nervous because of how good York was looking.
You know, honestly, I was kind of scared. But I had a little bit of doubt going in the first 2 games, and everybody seemed to prove me wrong. And honestly, I'm excited to see what draws near for the postseason, what's going to happen. And, you know, if it comes down to it, York and High Point, obviously go Rockers, but it's going to be a fun series no matter what.
It was a good series here, and the Rockers got some big wins. As we mentioned, they win their 4th series in a row. 10 of their last 12 games have been wins for the Rockers. We'll do a quick recap of the week that was, then we'll get some of our takeaways, and then we'll tell you we have a great interview, and we'll let you know about that in just a minute. But let's start with, it was Tuesday night, the homestand started against the Sugar Land Skeeters, the team who won the first half of the Freedom Division. They're the defending Atlantic League champions. They won the first game, but then on Wednesday, the Rockers would win with a 4-run 8th inning. They'd end up winning the game 9-8. That 8th inning was started by a 2 RBI single by Miles Schroeder, and then Giovanni Alfonso had an RBI that would win the game for the Rockers. On Thursday, there was 4 home runs. Hector Gomez had a 2-run home run, and then the rest were solo home runs. And then on Thursday, they'd win that game 5-0 against the Sugarland Skeeters. So they would take 2 out of 3 there to win the series against Sugarland Skeeters. And then on Friday, the York Revolution come to town, and Gomez makes it 3 home runs in 2 days, 3 home runs in his last 7 at-bats there on Friday and Thursday. 2 home runs on Friday night, and the Rockers would win 7-5. And then on Saturday, it'd be the last win of the homestand, where the Rockers would win 6-1. Schaefer had 2 RBIs. Russell had an RBI single. Sergi Rosa had an RBI. Steven Cardulo had an RBI double as well. And then a Hector Gomez RBI double. He might have been swinging the hottest bat this entire homestand, and then the Rockers would lose on Sunday. But they are still in first place even after a Long Island Duck win here today. I believe they are now 2 games ahead of the Long Island Ducks here on Sunday. But James, I'll throw to you now. What are some of the things that jump out to you when you look back on this homestand?
Really solid pitching staff. I believe Eddie Carl started against York through 12 Ks, I believe, right?
Yeah,
tied the record.
That's a great point. Tied the single-game franchise record for strikeouts.
Which he had told me in the dugout, it's not his highest. He's thrown 16. So he was looking for more, which is a scary thought. But at the same time, Chris Pennell put on a solid performance the next night. But what really stood out...
And Joe Van Meter.
And Joe Van Meter as well with that triple play, the first one in franchise history as well. But, you look at that, and solid pitching goes a long way. And then you look at the offense as well. That's what the key... I was listening to Jamie speak to me earlier, and he was saying that's the key to beating York was to get ahead in the count. Don't get behind. Don't let York get that hot streak going. If you start first, they're playing catch-up the rest of the night. And they don't have that momentum like they did today here on Sunday where they had the lead and we just couldn't get it. You got to stay ahead in the count, and we did that with all the offensive runs we had. It was an impressive performance.
And this is a red-hot team in the York Revolution. Their entire lineup, when you look at it, they have a team average. They're hitting a team average of above 300. So this is a really good team. So to be able to take 2 out of 3 against them, including only allowing them to score 1 run yesterday on Saturday night, is pretty impressive stuff. So a lot of stuff to be excited about as the Rockers keep moving forward, because it's the Atlantic League, and when the sun goes down, the sun comes up, a new day begins, and there is Atlantic League baseball again that day in the summer. You nearly play every single day, and the Rockers are ready to keep rolling. They're in first place right now and feeling good. They had a six games this homestand and won 4 games. So it's pretty impressive. Won 2 in each series, so won both of those series. A guy who we saw in that series was Ryan Kelly, who came out again and has been playing great, has been a great reliever for the Rockers in that closing role since he's been here. And I really enjoyed the interview we have with him this week.
Ryan's a very interesting man, very experienced veteran, 13 seasons I believe he's played. Fun fact, he actually went to college at the same college as my mother did, actually, at Walter State. So
that's a little trivia for you.
That is, actually. Not that anybody cares where my mom went to college, but, it's fun for me, and Ryan's a great man, and if you're going to find out in the interview a cool story about his little koi fish tattoo or whatever he's got on his arm. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Here's Ryan Kelly. Great guy to talk to, super fun. We thank him so much for joining us this week. We hope you enjoy it. Here is the closer for the High Point Rockers, Ryan Kelly. He's this week's interview on the podcast. Hey, Rocker fans, for the interview portion this week of the Off the Rocker podcast, we have Ryan Kelly with us. We have a full house: Kendrick, Fruits, James Jackson, Ken McMahon, and, of course, Ryan Kelly. Ryan, we'll start with when you got here, you kind of got put into that closer spot, and you were able to jump in and get into some big situations and get saves, and ever since you've been doing that. When you come out in the 9th inning or in those late innings, You're ready in that spot. How's it been so far being on the Rockers?
I mean, that's kind of been my role for the last couple of years, so I'm used to it. When I came in, I told them, I'm willing to do whatever. I'm a team guy. Obviously, our bullpen was really stacked when I got here, and I was fortunate enough that they did put me in the back end, which is where I'm most comfortable. That's what it boils down to for me. It's just being comfortable out there and being able to do my job.
I want to ask you about the other night when you came in against the Blue Crabs, I think it was. The night it was pouring rain. Oh, yeah. And have you ever played in that much rain before? And walk me through that whole inning, because I don't even know how you were getting the ball out of your hand, let alone able to get the save.
Yeah, it was extremely difficult. I've never played a baseball game in that kind of rain. I've never pitched in one. I've never seen anyone pitch in one. It was difficult. But what happened was I literally lost the ability to throw fastball and breaking ball. Only thing I could throw was a cutter because I grip it so tight, and it's the only thing that was staying true. Obviously, you saw the breaking ball I threw that went 20 feet over Jones's head. And then I threw one fastball that almost hit Garcia in the face. So, I was kind of nervous throwing fastballs because, I know some of those guys. I didn't want to hurt somebody. It was difficult, though, but somehow got through it, Controversial call to end the game. I was actually just watching it in the locker room. It's kind of funny you brought it up, but it is what it is. I was excited for it for myself. Obviously, it was a crappy situation for Green after a tough at bat to go down like that. But it is what it is. So,
Rocker fans are happy that it went that way.
You said throwing the cutter. It's like having our own Mariano Rivera back there. That's the pitch he was known to throw. But I want to ask you just a little bit about this upcoming series, or I guess it'll be this past series by the time this airs. But the York Revolution in town over the weekend, and that's a team that's been dominating their division in the second half. So you go from playing the Skeeters, who we know are a good team, already a playoff team, to the Revolution, who are trending to be a playoff team. And we're fighting to be a playoff team. So does it feel like the intensity just never lets up here in the second half of the season?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that, we have the best team in the league right now. Call me biased, but that's just my opinion. This lineup, though, that we're about to face right now is probably the toughest lineup in the league. 1 through 9. They've got guys that can leave the yard. They've got, guys that are team players, put the ball in play when they need to. They're obviously putting up a lot of runs right now if you look at any of the box scores. So, it's going to be a tough series, but it's two good teams, and, hopefully we come out on top.
Ryan, I'm interested to know your journey to the MLB. I believe you played with the Braves, correct?
Yes, I did.
What was that feeling like when you found out you were going to make that start and make your MLB debut?
It was kind of a weird situation because when I got called up, they said I flew to Pittsburgh, and they told me if the game gets rained out on Saturday, it's going to be a doubleheader on Sunday, and you'll be the 26th man. If it doesn't get rained out on Saturday, then you'll probably come back to AAA. And so it's kind of like bittersweet. I'm sitting in the hotel room in Pittsburgh, and you can see the stadium from my window. And I'm looking out, waiting for the tarp to pull, and nothing. Game starts on time. So I just assumed that I was going back the next day. I never called anybody, never told my family because I didn't want to say anything if it didn't actually happen. But then sure enough, that night I get a text from Freddie Gonzalez, bus at 9 a.m. And I was confused. What, you bus to the airport? What do you mean, And next thing you know, my phone starts blowing up, and they announced it on Twitter that I was getting activated the next day on Sunday. And it was a surreal experience. Especially being in Pittsburgh. I got drafted by Pittsburgh originally, and I was kind of hoping I'd make my debut the next day at PNC Park. That'd be a pretty sweet thing, but ended up happening when we went back home. So it was nice. That was nice because my family was able to come and watch me debut. But just jogging on the bullpen for the first time. The first thought in my mind was don't trip coming out, And then second, it was just I just went out there and I felt like this is what I was meant to do, and I just kind of grinded through it and got through the nerves, and I ended up giving up a run. I wasn't happy about that, but it is what it is. It was definitely a surreal moment, and I'll never forget it.
Now, for a pitcher, you're staring right at not just the batter and the umpire, but you're staring right at the fans too, facing right in there. What's the atmosphere like for a major league pitcher in this ginormous $1 million stadium? What's that atmosphere like?
Honestly, you don't really pay attention to the fans. I know people want to talk about in the zone or whatever. It's not that. I think it's just there's so much noise that you don't hear anything. It's just like like a train going by, you know what I mean? Or an airplane taking off. It's just loud noise. That's it. And if you're able to kind of shut that off, the biggest thing for me, honestly, was how bright it was. Like, you felt like it was a spotlight, like, right on top of you. I mean, it was just, that was the craziest thing for me. The biggest difference between the minor leagues and the big leagues was the lights. I know that's crazy to say, but the fans didn't really play a factor into it, at least not for me.
I want to those are great questions by James. I want to move back to some more Rocker questions here, but we haven't asked anybody this yet, so I want to ask you. Rockers are in first place right now, so a lot of things are going right, and a 2.5 lead at the time of this recording. So a lot of things can change, but the Rockers seem to be in a good spot right now, and with York coming in, a great team, but I guess it's kind of a spot where it feels like you guys can really get a little stretch here. What's the mentality in the clubhouse right now? And I know the great thing about the Rockers and you guys have been, you don't really worry about that stuff. It's more the three media guys can get all anxious about that. Yeah. But, what is the mentality in there?
Honestly, I mean, it's been the same since I got here. We're out here having fun. We went through a little rough patch there when to start the second half, when they introduced the TrackMan, and it was very frustrating for a lot of guys, pitchers and hitters, alike, coaches as well. So we kind of brought ourselves down, and but since then, obviously we've been playing a lot better baseball, and the atmosphere in the clubhouse has just been, the same as it was when I first got here. It's just fun, go out, play, get everything you have, and hopefully you come out on top. If you don't, guess what? You wake up, you're playing again the next day. So, that's kind of how we approach everything as a team, as a whole. Obviously, you want to win every night, but, that's just not the case. But, that's what you hope for. You go out there and you get everything you got.
I am going to make an assumption based on the way I've seen you kind of around it at the games in the bullpen. So if you say, Kevin, that's totally false, it's okay. But in the bullpen, you kind of seem like the guy, we talk about how Giovanni Alfonso is a guy who's kind of like the spark plug of the infield. He's always got a smile. He's always got a good attitude. I feel like you're that way in the bullpen. I just see you always with a good energy, and in warm-ups, you're always talking to everybody, making sure everybody's good. How important is it for you to make sure that the bullpen and everybody's in good spirits and ready to go?
Yeah, we have, a few older guys out there, some guys that have been around, myself, included. This is my 13th year, so and most of that's been spent in a bullpen. So, you kind of you got to keep it light. You got to have fun out there. Obviously, you pay attention, but, if you sit out there and just watch the game the whole time, it gets pretty, pretty boring when you do it 140 times a year. So you got to keep it light, keep it fun, joke around, whatnot. But again, like I said, you're always paying attention. When a pitch is being thrown, you're watching. In between pitches, you can, kind of mess around, do whatever you want. I wouldn't necessarily call myself the spark plug of the bullpen. I think all of us out there are pretty similar when it comes to that. Some guys are quiet. I'm obviously not a very quiet guy, as you can tell. So, I guess in that sense, maybe. But we're all joking around out there, all having fun together. But, that's the idea, right? Having fun.
You have a good energy about you. That was maybe my point there.
Yeah.
We talked to Richie Schaefer on the podcast last week, and he was talking about how he felt that hitters were at a disadvantage up until the sun goes down because of the way that the ball goes from the light to the shadow as it leaves the pitcher's hand, and with the sun hitting off of the batter's eye out in center field. Obviously, most of the time when you come in, it's already dark and the lights are on, but have you noticed anything like that similar? Do you feel like you have that advantage for a little while if you do come in while the sun's still up?
Well, I haven't been fortunate enough to pitch in a game when the sun's up right there. Even day games, it's really not like that when I come in. But I know they all talk about it. I haven't experienced it firsthand, so I don't know. Obviously, if you watch how the game goes, you can tell that it's tough. There's starters, with not overpowering stuff are going out and just blowing guys away, and that's a big part of it. Again, like I said, I don't know firsthand. When I go out there, usually the lights are on and it's dark and they can see it pretty well. So, but no, yeah, I know a lot of the hitters talk about it. I can't imagine how difficult it is with the sun. Any kind of reflection like that, it's picking up spin's almost impossible. So,
Ryan, what goes into your preparation, to prepare for a game? If you're going in at one point, what goes into your preparation to get you dialed in for the game?
I have my routines. I do pretty much the same thing every day. Stretch routine, kind of some breathing stuff to get my mind right, to slow everything down. for me, it's just all about mentality. How my stuff is in the bullpen doesn't really matter to me. I'm just getting my arm going when I get on the mound. It's as long as I have the right mindset. That's pretty much all. I mean, I know one thing that I pride myself on is knowing who's coming up. I mean, most guys are like that, bullpen guys especially. You know who's coming up that inning. You have an idea of how you're going to pitch them, what you're going to do in certain situations. I mean, that's really my preparation. Is more of a mental side than it is physical.
All right, we'll move to some of the personality stuff. You get some great baseball answers, but we'll move to some of the personality stuff. I was getting heckled beforehand about I always ask the music question. Sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss, but I'll ask it again. Do you have any music you've been listening to recently? Anybody that you like or not, or is music not necessarily your thing?
I mean, I'm not really big into music. I listen to it when I work out. I listen to it when I'm sitting in the hot tub or something like that. I'm not like a pregame, like headphones in, gotta get my mind right with music. That's not really my style. I mean, I listen to, if I'm driving in my truck, I listen to country. I've always liked country. If I'm working out, I listen to some like old dubstep or Skrillex, stuff like that. And if I'm just hanging out, Kings of Leon type stuff. But like I said, I'm not really big into it. It's just more of something in the background for me.
I want to ask about this absolutely epic tattoo you've got on your left arm, the huge fish there. Is there a story behind that?
Yeah, I guess I actually got a tribal tattoo when I was 18, and I obviously wasn't really thinking when I got it, so I wasn't too keen on it. So I had to get something to cover it up, and I went to a tattoo artist and I asked him, some ideas, and I really like the idea of a koi fish, just the meaning behind it. So it was perfect because of the shape of it, and that's just what ended up happening. And obviously, the flowers and stuff like that are just a little extra. But the guy did a really good job for me, and I was pleased with the results, and it covered up the tattoo that I didn't like. So,
Ryan, looking back on your career, how do you want people to remember you as a ball player? Obviously, I'm sure you still got a long ways to go, but look, you said 13 years. How do you want people to remember you?
I want people to remember me as a person that left everything out there. A good teammate. I feel like I've done a pretty good job with that as far as being a good teammate. I'm always behind my guys, especially as a bullpen. Nothing against the rest of the pitching staff or position players, but for me, I feel like as a bullpen pitcher, our staff in the bullpen, you always have each other's back. So you always like to see them succeed. Whether or not I have a good night or not, if they succeed, I'm happy for them. But that's, I guess, just being a good teammate, man. That's you never want to be that guy that that no one liked or whatever. So just looking back on it, I just hope that everyone that I've played with along the way, appreciated me as a teammate.
What's the funniest road story that you can tell us that you've had on your journey so far?
Ooh, funniest road story.
Yeah.
What do you mean, just like along the way, or?
Yeah.
Man, I'd have to think. We'll have to come back to that one. Yeah.
He's asking the good questions today. Let's go with some easy ones, then we'll let you go here before I'll go around again. But what's your favorite TV show? It's Game of Thrones night tonight. I'm not a Game of Thrones fan, so are you?
No.
Okay, so we won't go there. Because I was like, I hope if you are, I'm not going to be much help. I don't know what you're talking about. But do you have a favorite TV show?
I guess the most recent show that I just finished watching finally was Arrow on Netflix. I got into that. Season 1 and 2 were really good. 3 and 4 got a little whatever. And then it started picking it back up and then I just finished season 7. So I guess that would be my favorite show right now.
And the movie about your life, who plays you? If they were going to make a movie about Ryan Kelly, who's the actor that plays Ryan Kelly?
Me.
You play yourself. Okay.
So you had mentioned comic books and Arrow. Are you a big comic books guy?
Not really. I like the Marvel movies. I never really got into the comics as a kid or anything like that, but I like the Marvel movies.
I guess I have to make a confession. I was the one that was ragging on Kevin before we started the podcast about him asking the same question over and over. I'm going to do the same thing. I think I have my stereotypical question. 3 places in the world you've never been to that you would love to visit.
Japan. I guess Tokyo. When I was playing in Taiwan, I wanted to go over there. I was close enough. Thailand, and I guess they're all over there. Bali.
Okay, yeah, awesome.
Any reasons why? for those?
Nah, just I've seen pictures and stuff. You know what I mean? It just looks like an interesting places. So.
All right, and last question we'll ask here is, as the Rockers are moving towards the end here, pushing towards the playoffs, what's been the most important thing because you're one of the older guys in the clubhouse, so what are some of the things you're going to be preaching, or is there anything that you're going to be passing on to some of the younger guys about, in this playoff push? Maybe keeping the same mentality, but anything comes to your mind when you think about, getting ready for a playoff push and getting into the playoffs?
I appreciate you calling me old there.
One of the veteran guys. Sorry I didn't use those, I don't know. I look like I'm old. I'm only 22, so I'll be careful there.
No, I mean, honestly, I feel like as a veteran guy, an older guy, if we really needed to, we could, get together as a group and talk about stuff. But I feel like Jamie and Frank, but Jamie especially, does a really good job of when we need a little bit of meeting or a little bit of push, motivation, he does it in the right way. He doesn't come in and, point fingers and yell and say, we need to do this and that. He basically just comes in and says, look, we've done this. We've all been here before. Even the young guys, you got Frank, straight out of college. He's, adapted, learned really quick. And I mean, that's just what it is. I feel like all of us most of the guys here have been around long enough to understand and know yourself and know what you need to do. So I don't think we'd really need a meeting like that. But if we had to have one, there's a group of guys that would definitely stand up and let some people know.
Everybody good?
I'm going to steal one last question there real quick. We were in there in the office earlier just debating about some of the recent Major League Baseball Hall of Fame inductions and, who should have been a unanimous decision, who shouldn't have been, that sort of thing. Just curious, growing up, who were some of your baseball idols, the guys that you loved to watch or wanted to be like?
I mean, I was a Yankees fan my whole life. I know probably a lot of people are going to be upset about that, but I was a big Jeter fan, and I loved Griffey, even though, obviously with Seattle. Those are probably my two favorite players to watch as a kid. And then once I got a little older, obviously, I really enjoyed watching Mariano. I liked how he went about everything. Cool as the other side of the pillow, man. He was just that guy. You say no emotions. Anytime he does an interview, people ask him questions about it, and he's obviously a very emotional guy. He was really good at hiding it, and that's I feel like that's a good quality to have, especially as a closer. It's kind of an intimidating factor. What's this guy thinking out there? So I really like watching him pitch as a kid, too.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate you stopping by, and thanks for, the great answers.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
A big thanks to Ryan Kelly for joining us this week on the podcast. It's Kevin McMahon and James Jackson here with you again as we get ready to let you know, give you a preview of what is to come here for your High Point Rockers. You're listening to this on Monday, maybe. You can listen to it whenever, but if you're listening to it on Monday when it comes out, the Rockers play the New Britain Bees tonight, but on the road. They have a 4-game series on the 12th, the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th, all against the New Britain Bees, another team in the Liberty Division. And then they return on Friday night, August 16th, to BB&T Point. The Rockers do for a 3-game series against the Long Island Ducks. The Long Island Ducks won they're the first half leaders, the first half champions in the Liberty Division. They've already clinched a playoff spot, and they are the team currently in second place behind the first place Rockers. It's always a big deal when the Ducks come in. They've been playing in the Atlantic League for 2 decades, over 20 years. So a team with a lot of history, and it's always fun when these two teams meet up, the Rockers and the Ducks.
Well, first off, congratulations to the Ducks on 20 years in the league. That's a huge, monumental achievement. But knock on wood, they haven't beaten us yet in a series. So let's hope we keep it that way, right?
Yeah, the Rockers have done a good job. Actually, as you said, controlling the series record so far. The Rockers lead. They actually, last time they met, the Rockers swept the Long Island Ducks on the road.
I'm not going to get too cocky because I don't want to jinx it and not hear the end of it. But we have a lot of fun things in store for you. I believe Irish Heritage Night is Saturday, August 17th. We're having specialty Irish jerseys that I can't even describe, But honestly, if I could put it into words, it's something Conor McGregor would wear to the octagon. It's honestly insane. There's going to be a shamrock necklace giveaway, I believe, and it's definitely going to be something to see.
These jerseys are very phenomenal. They have clovers on them. They have the Irish flag on them. They have the Rocker logo in orange, green, and white. They're really sharp. And as always, you'll have a chance to bid on those and on the LiveSource app.
Thank you, Pennyburn.
And that the money that you give for the jersey will go towards helping end Alzheimer's. So it'll go to help end Alzheimer's. So that's pretty outstanding, a great jersey and a great cause. And then, as James said, the first 1,000 fans in the ballpark will receive a special Shamrock medallion courtesy of the good folks down there at Pennyburn. And then there will be a post-game fireworks show. And then on Sunday, August 18th, against the Long Island Ducks as well, we have a very special back-to-school day, and we're doing something really fun for the kids on that day.
Kids will get a special Rockers drawstring bag thanks to the Red Line Hotel. It's also Family Fun Day. Thank you, Bethany Medical, for doing that and allowing kids to run the bases post-game. I know that's my favorite part. And, it's really exciting if you're going back to school, show off your Rockers merch, kids.
As you said, kids run the bases on Sundays as well. A note about the Rockers drawstring bags. The first 1,000 kids, 16 and under, will get that as part of our back-to-school day. So a lot of stuff to look forward to if you are a Rockers fan. Rockers go on the road against the New Britain Bees. Then they come right back to High Point to take on the Long Island Ducks. It all starts Friday, August 16th at 6:30. The Friday game at 6:30, Saturday's game at 6:30 with fireworks, and then Sunday at 2 o'clock. And then it's just 3 games, then the Rockers go on the road again, and then they're back the next weekend. So that is all we have for you this week. I'm afraid it's time that we must bid you adieu, goodbye.
Good night.
We'll see you next time. We hope to see you at BB&T Point. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Off the Rockers. Go Rockers!